Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Hare Krishna. Good morning, dear devotees. We're live streaming from Sridham, Mayapur. We've been hearing from Srimad Bhagavatam every day. And today we're on Canto 3, Chapter 25. We've been reading from the teachings of Lord Kapila Dev, Devotional Service, and we're on text number 28. And this is Devahuti replying to Kapila Dev. Devahutiruvacha kachit tvayuchita bhakti kidrisi mamagochara yaya padam te nirvanam anjasan vasnanasnaham anjas anvasnava aham. On hearing a statement of the Lord, Devahuti inquired what kind of devotional service is worth developing and practicing to help me easily and immediately attain the service of your lotus feet. Srila Prabhupada has given a short purport. It is stated in Bhagavad Gita that no one is barred from rendering service to the Lord, whether one is a woman or a laborer or a merchant. If he engages himself in the devotional service of the Lord, he is promoted to the highest perfectional state and goes back home, back to Godhead. The devotional service most suitable for different types of devotees is determined and fixed by the mercy of the spiritual master. Gora graganya gana go to goloruharam Goranga Gura Tamagopyata Kopa Briksham Gopala Gada Ratidam Yati Singha Gora Govinda Deshi Kavaram Satatam Namami Vanchakalpa Durubhischa Kripa Sindhu Bhyaevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasari Gaura Bhakta Brinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So many points are here in this short purport. Srila Prabhupada states the devotional service most suitable for different types of devotees is determined and fixed by the mercy of the spiritual master. Bhaktivinoda Thakur, in his beginning to Krishna Samhita, he says that the Lord sends his devotees to different places in the world and they give the principles of religion, and those principles are different according to Desha Kala Patra, Vastu, according to different places and times, different persons. And he says that the nature of different neophytes is that they start to think that our process is the best and that something that someone else has gotten is not good, and they hate those persons. So the question often comes, what really is our sadhana? And devotees become confused. If they go to a Gaudiya Math temple, they're not singing the same songs we sing, oh my God. Or if they go to visit some temple in Jagannath Puri or Vrindavan, a temple of Radharaman, or this or that, and they, oh my God, they're not singing the same songs, they don't have the same morning program. A neophyte devotee will think they're all in Maya. But a more mature devotee will understand that according to particular persons and according to the pleasure of the Lord, they may have a little different type of sadhana. There's a story we sometimes tell about one spiritual master who was giving Bhagavatam class regularly. And after his classes every day, he would distribute prasadam, some Rajbhog sweets. A Rajbhog, if you don't know, That's that's about this big. It's like a softball. Looks like a softball. It's white. Madhupati Prabhu, nice to see you again. Yesterday we started late because I had some computer problems and it took us 10 minutes to get things set up. But today it seems to be going okay. So he would distribute this Rajbhog Prasad, which looks like a big rasgulla and has a little bit of candy on the inside. And they're very popular, especially with children. So he was distributing those to everyone every day. And there was one senior disciple standing in the queue, waiting, and everybody's getting this nice Rajbhog. And then when that senior disciple came up, his guru looked up and saw who it was and put the Rajbhog back and picked up a little bundi ladu. And he gave that to that disciple. And the disciple was looking, he said, Guru Maharaj, this is not good. I'm a senior devotee. Everyone else is getting his Rajbhog. You gave me this little bundi ladu. It's not good. So his Guru Maharaj said, would you like a Rajbhog? Yes, Gurudev. It's okay. So he gave him a nice Rajbhog. Thank you, Gurudev. And the next day for class, that devotee came late. And afterwards he approached his Guru Maharaj and he said, Guru Maharaj, now I understand. Last night I was up all night long in the bathroom because I couldn't digest that Rajbhog. And his Guru said, yes, I gave you what was right for you. It reminds me of another time my Guru Maharaj gave me the worship of Giriraj. And he explained to me certain practices to do. And then later, one of my godbrothers, who also had Giriraj, and had also received instructions from Guru Maharaj how to worship him, was watching me, and he later phoned Guru Maharaj, and he said, I like the way Madhavananda does it better than the way I do it. And our Guru Maharaj chastised him. He said, no, I gave that instruction for Madhavananda. And your instruction is for you. So different devotees will have different instructions because different persons are different ways. But we should understand, as Prabhupada writes in this purport, no one is barred from rendering devotional service to the Lord. Whether they're a woman, a laborer, or a merchant, if he engages himself in the devotional service of the Lord, he's promoted to the highest perfectional state and goes back home, back to Godhead. So this is our topic for today. I'd like to try to speak about how bhakti is for everyone, and no one is barred from bhakti, including women, including Sudras, and different types of personalities. Yesterday we told a story about Dhanurdas, who was a powerful wrestler, and who was a very, very lusty fellow who was attached to his wife, to a young girl, later became his wife. And Ramanujacharya called for him, seeing that he was making a fool out of himself, a spectacle in public, by holding an umbrella over the head of this beautiful girl and fanning her during the deity's procession. He was completely oblivious that the deity was even there. He was just worshiping this beautiful girl, and everyone was making fun of him. So Ramanuja called for him and took him later to have darshan of the deity of Lord Ranganath, private darshan. And when he saw the beauty of that deity by the mercy of Ramanuja, Dhanurdas had a transformation in consciousness. And that Dhanurdas, he came from a low birth and from a bad background. To be a wrestler like that in India is not a very high-class thing. And his girlfriend was to put it politely, she was a society girl. But when they became devotees, Ramanuja showed great affection to him. And when he would go to take bath in the Kaveri, he would hold on to the arm of Dhanurdas when he was returning from the Kaveri. Although he would hold the arm of another devotee named Dasarati on the way to the river. Well, after he took bath and cleansed himself, then he would hold the arm of this former wrestler disciple. And so some of Ramanuja's young Brahmin disciples, they were seeing this, how Guru Maharaj is being so intimate with this person of a lower birth, and some of them became disturbed. And some of them even became so disturbed, they started criticizing and saying that Guru Maharaj is not behaving in a proper way. Very, very dangerous thing. Understanding the misconception in their hearts, Ramanuja decided to teach them a lesson that would help them to understand the proper, give them the proper understanding of the character of a Vaishnava. So one night while they were all asleep, Ramanuja got up and he tore, they had all washed their dhotis every night because they're very Paka Brahmachari Brahmins, and they only had maybe 2 pieces of cloth, so they would wash one of them every night and hang it up to dry. And so that night, Ramanuja got up and he tore a piece of cloth, just about maybe this big, off of each dhoti. And so then the next morning, when those Brahmachari Brahmin disciples woke up, a big quarrel arose. And who did this? You must have done this. You were envious of me. And they started quarreling and shouting at each other. And finally, Ramanuja himself had to intervene and tell them, look, chill out. So later that evening, Ramanuja called for several of those Brahmachari disciples. And he says, you know, I think all of you have observed how my disciple Dhanudas, he's really just an attached householder, but he's posing as a great devotee. So I want you to help me to expose him. They said, yes, Guru Maharaj, we were thinking the same thing. This is very, very good. So Ramanuja said, look, so tonight, when Dhanudas comes to speak with me, I'll keep him here. And we'll discuss Sastra and things. And during that time, you should go to his house and steal the ornaments that he's so fond of decorating his wife with. And then we'll see just how attached he really is. The disciples were very, very happy. Yes, Guru Maharaj, we were thinking the same thing. This guy is so bogus. Yes, no problem, Gurudev. And so as soon as Dhanudas arrived at the ashram, they went to the place of Dhanudas. And there they found his wife, Himamba, sleeping quietly. So the door wasn't locked. They entered in. They're very, very quiet. And Himamba was laying on her side, sleeping. And as quietly and as gently as they could, they started taking the golden ornaments off of her. Now, actually, Himamba wasn't asleep. And she was completely aware of everything that was going on. She was just pretending that she was sleeping deeply because she didn't want to create a disturbance to those brahmacharis. So when all the ornaments had been taken off from one side of her body, she thought, oh, I should give them facility to take the ornaments on the other side also. And so, pretending that she's deeply asleep, she rolled over so to give them some facility. But as soon as she rolled over, they became afraid and they ran away. And then they went back to Ramanuja and they reported everything. And then Ramanuja called for Dhanudas and told him that you should go home now, it's getting late. And so then when the wrestler Dhanudas had left, Ramanuja told his disciples, now I want you to follow him home and look through the window and see his reaction to this great loss. I mean, they lost, the women in India previously, they were like the living banks of the household. And instead of putting money in the bank, they would buy huge golden bracelets and earrings and necklaces and different things for their wives. And those wives would feel very blessed and very, someone's paying attention to them, they're feeling very happy and pleased with that. And so they would keep that wealth. And then if something happened in the family, they needed some money, perhaps to marry their daughter or something, they would sell some of the bangles or something like that. So those brahmacharis, they followed Dhanudas back, and they were watching through the window. And when Dhanudas arrived inside, he looked at his wife, and he said, hey, what's going on? You have an earring on one side, you have a bangle on one side, but you don't have on the other side. You have a ankle bracelet on one side, but not. why is you wearing your jewelry only on one side? Where are the other things? And then Himamba replied, she explained to him, she said, my dear husband, some brahmacharis came here while you were gone, and no doubt because they were very, very poor, they'd been forced to take up the behavior of thieves. So I was lying there awake, chanting the names of Krishna in my mind, but they must have thought that I was sleeping. So then they entered the room and they took all the ornaments from one side. And so then when they did that, I rolled over so they could take the rest of my jewelry. But unfortunately, they became frightened by my movements and they ran away. And when he heard this, Dhanurdas became furious. And he started shouting at his wife. And the brahmacharis who were watching her, like elbowing each other in the ribs, see, this guy is so attached. And he chastised her. He said, you complete nonsense woman. He said, this was your mistake. You're still not free from illusion. You're still thinking these are my ornaments and I'll give them away. When are you going to give that up and realize that everything belongs to the Lord? If you would have been more expert, then you would have been able to give everything to them. That was his chastisement to his wife. And when Himamba heard that, she folded her hands and said, I'm very sorry, my dear Pati. Please bless me so that one day I can become free from this illusion. I can become more expert to serve the brahmacharis and the Vaishnavas. And so those brahmacharis, they saw that. Wow. And they went back and they told Ramanuja all about what had happened. So Ramanuja then told them, he said, you're very proud of your position as very Paka Brahmins and Brahmacharis. So now I want to know, you please tell me, whose behavior was more befitting of a sadhu? Yours, yesterday morning, when you found that someone had stolen a little strip off your cloth, or that of Dhanurdas and his wife when their jewels were stolen? The disciples became quiet and they just hung their heads in shame and they said, Guru Maharaj, it was Dhanurdas whose behavior was worthy of a Brahmin. Ours was abominable. And so then Ramanuja told them, you should understand that birth and caste are unimportant. Rather, it's a person's qualities and actions that show who's fallen, regardless of social position. He said, so now you should give up all your pride and birth as being Brahmins and being great brahmacharis, and you should endeavor to serve the Lord with a pure heart. That's the only way of perfection. In the Chaitanya Bhagavat, there are many statements from Srila Vrindavan Das Thakur about the how one should not try to judge a Vaishnav just by their birth. So we're trying to see if we can sing while we do this and organize this. Adhamma kulete jadi Vishnu bhakta hoy Tatapi se puja sarva shastri koi Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram. He said that someone may be born, Adamakulite, they may be born in a very low-class family. But Vishnu Bhakti Hoy, if they're a devotee of Vishnu or Krishna, then Tatapi say puja, they're worthy of worship. Sarva Shastri Koi, that's the verdict of all the Shastras. Chandaleo moha sharana jadi loy Sehamora munita jani hanischoy. He said, you should understand that even as someone is a chandala, a dog eater, if that person surrenders to me, sarana jadi loy, then sehamora, that devotee is mine. And munitar, jani hanischoy. Without doubt, he's mine and I'm also his. And he gives some example. Kajindra Banara Gope Kita Pakorila Bala Dekita More Kema Devahila Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare Ram Hare Ram Asure Tapa Kore Kihoy Tahar Dine Mora Sharan Loye Nahi Par. He said, so tell me. The Lord said, tell me, Gajendra Vanara Gopi Kitapa Korile, what kind of austerities, what kind of tapasya did Gajendra the elephant do? What kind of tapasya did the Vanaras do, Hanuman and the monkeys? What kind of tapasya did the Brijbasi Gopas do, the cowherd people of Braj? He said, you should understand, Asura Tapakoti, even the demons do austerities. But what's the result? Unless they take shelter of me, they can't be delivered. Jai Jai Desha Ganga Hari Nama Vivajita Jai Desha Pandava Nahi Gela Kadachit Say Sabbaji Vere Krishna Vatsala Hoya Mahabhakta Sabbajamayena Adyatiya. He said, Krishna, out of so much compassion, he ordered his devotees, Jai Jai Desha Ganga Harinama Vivarjita. He ordered some of his great devotees to appear in places where the Ganga doesn't appear and where the holy names are not chanted. Places like Russia, like Siberia, like Hungary, like America, like South America, like China. Places where the Pandavas didn't visit. And he did this out of his great compassion. On those personalities, he says, Mahabhakta Sabbajamayena Giti. These are great, great devotees. So again, Vrindavan Das Thakur, in Adi Leela chapter 16, he says, Adhamma kulete jari Vishnu bhakta hoy Tatapi se puja Chava shastri koi. He says, if a devotee of the Lord is born in a low-class family, he's still worthy of worship. And that's the description of all the Shastras. He says, just like Prahlad was born in a demoniac family, Hanuman was born as a monkey, and the demigods, they want to be able to touch Haridas Thakur. And the Ganga desires that Haridas Thakur take bath in her waters. So in his purport to this verse today, Srila Prabhupada says, no one is barred from rendering service to the Lord, whether one is a woman or a laborer or a merchant. If he engages himself in the devotional service of the Lord, he's promoted to the highest perfectional stage and goes back home, back to Godhead. Part of the difficulty in understanding Krishna consciousness is the cultural box that is presented in sometimes. Although those cultural principles are not always absolute. In the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna speaks a verse which Srila Prabhupada is paraphrasing here in his purport in the Bhagavatam today. Krishna says, Mamhi parthavyapasritya yepi shu papayona yastriyo vaishistatasu dristepi yanti param gatim. And this verse is a very interesting verse in our Bindu recently in issue 472. Highly recommend devotees read the article there. It was called The Low-Born Merchants and Women. We discussed how this verse is translated in very different ways at different times by different acaryas. In Srila Prabhupada's translation in the 9th chapter, he says, O son of Pritha, those who take shelter in me, although they be of lower birth, women, Vaishyas, merchants, and Sudras can attain the supreme destination. That sounds very objectionable to people from the Western culture. How that the woman, being a woman, being a Sudra, being a Vaishya is considered to be a lower birth. But in his introduction to the Bhagavad Gita, the same verse is given by Srila Prabhupada and translated a little differently. When she gives a different meaning to the word striya, which is meaning woman. Prabhupada translates in his introduction to the Gita, he says, the Lord says that even a merchant, a fallen woman, or a laborer, or even human beings in the lowest status of life can attain the supreme. And that's not the only time Prabhupada does it. We did some research through Prabhupada's books, and just to give you a couple examples out of many, in his purports to Bhagavatam 4:30-41, 4:30-41, Bhagavatam 5:26-23, he uses the Gita to describe the birth of a woman as a lower birth. But conversely, in his purport to Bhagavatam 2:9-36, he translates Striya as fallen woman. The same translation he gives as introduction to the Gita. And then again, in his purport to Bhagavatam 4:21-33, he defines the word as a degraded woman, not just all women, but a degraded woman or a fallen woman. Now, let's look a little further in this regard, because if we want to understand the mood of our acaryas, we have to take the whole picture into account and not just fall prey to what's called Arda Kukyuti Nyaya, or the logic of half a hen. People like the half of the hen that gives the eggs, but they don't like the half that eats. But Srila Rupa Goswami, in his Laghu Bhagavatamrita, says that when there appear to be differences in the statements of our acaryas, we should look at them carefully in such a way to be able to reconcile this. So in his Gita Gan, which is Srila Prabhupada's Bengali poetic versification of the Gita, when Prabhupada gives this verse, he describes it in the following way. Amakeya Shrayakori Jeba Papa Yoni Malachari Javana Kimba Vesha Madhyagani. He describes what is Papa Yoni, or sinful birth, as malechas, yavanas, Vesha. He uses the word Vesha. Vesha is a Bengali word for prostitute. And he says all these persons, if they take shelter of Krishna, Kim Bhavaisha Sudhajadi Amara Ashai. Amara Ashai, Krishna is saying, if they take shelter of me, then Paivi Vaikunta Gati Jani Hanish Choi. Then know for sure that they'll attain Vaikunta. So let's look at some of the commentaries from our acaryas on this verse. Sanatana Goswami doesn't give a commentary on the entire Gita, but this particular verse appears in Hari Bhakti Vilas 10:179. And in his commentary to that verse, he describes women and Sudras in a separate category. And he says that they're only unfortunate, not because of their categorical birth, but because generally they don't have access to studying the Vedas. Baladi Vidyabhushan, in his commentary on this verse of the Gita, he says, Papa Yona Yo Antargyaja Sahaja Durachar. That persons who are low-born are those who are outside the caste system and who are naturally inclined to misdeeds. And he doesn't include women, Sudras, and Vaishyas in that list because he uses the term Antyaja, meaning outcasts, and that term's not applied to a Sudra, Vaishya, woman within the Varnashram system. In his Rasika Ranjana commentary on this verse of Bhagavad Gita, Thakur Bhaktivinoda also uses the same word that Prabhupada uses in his Gita Gan. He says that women in this verse refers to Vaishyas, or prostitutes. It doesn't refer to all women, because if we say it refers to all women, then we become very, very confused and very disturbed. I have done some research on this thing informally. I've gone around and I've interviewed found out about the lives of different brahmacharis and sannyasis, and so far I've found that every single brahmachari and sannyasi I've ever heard of has a mother. Every one of them. And the gopis are ladies, and our aspiration is to be ladies. So if someone says that all women are bad and they can't practice bhakti, then it means that this process is not the absolute truth. I'm sorry, folks, you came to the wrong place. Maybe you should go to Islam or Confucianism or Christianity or some other process, because this is not the absolute truth. That'll be what we're saying. But it is the absolute truth. It is the topmost practice, because everyone can attain Krishna. In this regard, I'd like to tell another story, but we have a little bit of an introduction for the story. This is a little controversial story. This is about a low-class woman in Ram Lila whose name was Sabari. Now, some Vaishnavas reject the story of Sabari because they say that it doesn't appear in the Valmiki Ramayana. Now, just to be fair and to be honest and straightforward with devotees, because we should quote authority, let's examine this. So this story, I don't know any telling of it by Srila Prabhupada. As far as I know, Prabhupada never told the story about Sabri. But Bhaktivinoda Thakur, in the first section, chapter 3 of his Chaitanya Siksamrita, he describes that by the mercy of Narad Muni, a lawless hunter attained bhakti without having to become civilized and develop basic moral principles. And by the mercy of Lord Ramachandra, Sabari, a tribal lady, attained the high state of devotion. Similarly, Bilvamangala Thakur, in his Krishna Karnamrita, chapter 3, text 107, he gives a long verse, but two of the words in this verse are Sabari ke date, which means that Japriti, the verse is describing the first words of the verse, Japriti, what kind of joy is there in Sabari ke date, in receiving the half-bitten fruits from Sabari. So Bilvamangala Thakur mentions her. Similarly, Rupa Goswami in his Pajavali, text 118, and again I won't read the whole verse, it's a long verse, but he's speaking about how Krishna, it's a prayer to Krishna when one offers bhoga. A very nice verse, actually. We included it in our magazine about Mahaprasad. And the verse describes that, oh, my dear Krishna, just as you enjoyed the meal offered by Vidura, which actually was banana peels. In his ecstasy, he was peeling a banana, throwing the fruit away, absent-mindedly in ecstasy, giving Krishna the peels. Krishna's eating that. Just as Krishna enjoyed his lunch in Govardhan Hill, the chipped rice of Sudama Vipra, the breast milk offered by Mother Yashoda, the meal offered by Bharadvaj Muni, and Sabarika Datti, a similar statement to Bilvamangala Thakur, the food offered by Sabarika, a Sabari. So I hope that you'll also enjoy this offering that I placed before you now. So I'd like to tell the story from a source which we have some confidence in. This is the Bhaktamala of the devotee Nabadas Das. Nabadas was a great devotee, and he wrote a book called Bhaktamala. And there's different Bhaktamalas, but this particular Bhaktamala was greatly appreciated by Bhaktivinoda Thakur. He cites it in his autobiography. And Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati also would quote it sometimes in some of his lectures. And in fact, I came across one Sajjana Toshini magazine wherein they recommend the reading of Bhaktamala for the devotees who are studying Bhakti Shastri or whatever devotional degree that they had. So I'd like to tell the story of Sabari today, which is very appropriate for our discussion from this Bhaktamala. So Sabari, she lived in the forest. She was a tribal lady. She wasn't born in a Brahmin family. She was a very low caste. She had some great desire to serve saintly persons. But because she came from such a low caste, she didn't dare to go near them. So what she started doing every morning, well before sunrise, she would secretly go to the ashrams of the sages who were living there in the forest, and she would collect dry firewood, and she would sweep and make everything very nice. And she would do that with great, great care. And then she would sweep the road on which the saintly persons were walking. And after some time, those sadhus, they started noticing. They're saying, who's sweeping the road every day? Who's putting this dry firewood by our ashram? There must be some advanced saintly person living nearby. So among those sages living in the forest, there was one whose name was Matanga. And he was very, very advanced. He was a Vaishnava, a great devotee. And when he saw these bundles of dry wood, Matanga told them, he said, who is the thief? who's coming here to this forest to render service, and we should catch him. Otherwise, our minds are going to be restless until we get the darshan of that great devotee. And so Matunga's disciples started guarding the area very carefully. And then one morning they saw this lady from a hunter class, from a tribal class, Sabari, carrying this bundle of wood there. And when those disciples caught her, they became very, very furious. And they roughly grabbed her and they took her before their guru. And Sabari was trembling and crying, and she fell down at their feet. And when Matunga saw Sabari, he started crying. He became ecstatic. This lady is such a great devotee. But his followers, his own disciples, were thinking she is so low class. She was thinking herself to be so fallen, she couldn't even raise her head to look at Matunga. So but Matunga, he wanted to reveal Sabari's glories because he could understand the wonderful influence of Bhakti to the Lord. So he told the disciples, he said, this woman, she's so pure because of her devotional service that she surpasses even those who have all Brahminical qualities. And then Matunga, he gave a small cottage to Sabari in his ashram, and he gave her initiation in the chanting of a Sita Ram mantra. But when he did that, the sages, the other sages in the forest, they became angry at Matunga. And this is what happens in all societies, especially religious societies around the world, when there's some culture, there's some culture going on, and when people break those rules of their culture, people become angry about it. I give the example sometimes when I was, about 6 years old or something. My parents were taking us every day to the Baptist church every Sunday. And at a certain point, they decided to quit being Baptists and they decided to become Methodists. And when they did that, my grandmother cried for like a week, and she told us you're all going to go to hell. I can't even tell you what the difference is between a Baptist and a Methodist in Christianity. Even to this day, I really don't know. But she really felt like that. So that's the nature of people. They embrace the conservative standards, conservative social standards of their religion, and they put more stress on that than they do upon bhakti. This is the nature of Bahirmukh Janas, or external persons. This is the nature of neophyte devotees. They put more stress on that than they do on bhakti. And so even his own disciples became angry with the sage Matunga, and they left him. But Matunga, as described in Bhaktamala, he wasn't disturbed by that. Rather, he became very happy. He thought, very good. All these nonsense people who've been bothering me, now they've all gone away. Very, very good. And this Mataji, who's so very, very sincere, she's here. She's very good association. She's staying in a separate cottage. So finally, at the end of his life, Matunga, he went back to Godhead. And just before that, he called for Sabari. And he told her that on the order of the Lord, I'm leaving now. I'm going to go to his abode. Now, I want you to stay here and do your bhajan. And you'll stay here, and one day you'll have darshan of Lord Ramachandra. And Sabari, seeing that her Gurudev was going to leave this world, she began to cry, and she fell down at his feet. And her Guru left this world. And Sabari was crying, and she didn't want to continue living. But her Gurudev had told her, you stay here, and you'll have darshan of Lord Ramachandra. So with that hope in her heart, she stayed there, and she continued sweeping the road that the sadhus were going on their morning bath. And one day, Sabari was sweeping the road there, and she saw the sages walking by she was late one morning, and she saw the sages were walking on the road. It wasn't swept. And she was very, very pained by that. Oh, I haven't done my service. Now they're walking in maybe some thorns or something, some pebbles. There's something which will hurt their feet. And while they were passing by her, one of them accidentally touched her. And he became furious. And he started chastising her. Huh? And Sabari became afraid. She's a very simple woman. And she ran back to her cottage. Huh? And that sage who had just taken his bath, he thought, now I've become contaminated. And so then he went back to take a second bath to purify himself. But as soon as he entered into the water, an amazing, terrible thing happened. That pool of water that they were taking bath in every day became full of blood and so many different insects. And so he couldn't understand. And he went and told the other sages, and they all said, and they said, oh, this is because of this Sabari. Because she's taken bath here. Now this water has become contaminated. Huh? And so Sabari, she was just waiting, meanwhile, for the appearance of Lord Ramachandra. My Gurudev told me, we should be patient. Rupa Goswami says, Utsaha Nishchaya Dharyat. We should be enthusiastic, patient, and confident. I will see Krishna. I will get Krishna in this life. Sabari is saying, my Gurudev told me. And so she was waiting, and finally she became a very old woman. And every day Sabari was going and collecting berries in the village, in the forest, and she would taste them before she offered them. She would taste them, oh, these are not good, throw them away. And then she would take some others and taste, oh, this is very nice. And the nice ones then she would offer to the Lord. She was offering her uchista. It's a terrible thing. But she doesn't know. She'd never been trained in deity worship. She didn't have second initiation. She was not a very high-tech devotee or anything. She's just a simple person. Just like Dhanudas and his wife. They weren't very high-class persons. They're just very, very simple. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, he says, Sarlatahi Vaishnava. This is the quality of a devotee, of a Vaishnava, is they're simple. And so every day she was so eager. My Gurudev told me that Ramachandra is going to come. And so she's picking these berries and eating them. We heard a story yesterday, I think it was, about Srila Prabhupada, that someone had cooked something for Srila Prabhupada. And cucumber was bitter. Oh, that's right. They made some cucumber salad. And Prabhupada called for them, and Prabhupada said, this is bitter. And she said, Prabhupada, what should I do? And Prabhupada said, you should taste it before you offer it to me. That's a very unheard of thing. By Pancharatrika Vichar, by the consideration of Pancharatrika Vidhi. And Prabhupada told her like that. And Sabari was doing like that. So Sabari was so eager. My Gurudev told me that Lord Ram is going to come. And so every day she's waiting. Maybe today he'll come. And she's sweeping the path and getting all the sharp pebbles and thorns away from it, and patiently waiting. When will my eyes see the beauty of Lord Ramachandra? And she was spending her days in that way. And then one day, Lord Ramachandra suddenly arrived at Sabari's cottage. And when she saw that the Lord had come there, she became so embarrassed, she ran away and hid. And then Lord Ramachandra was calling out he went to the sages who were there, and he said, where is Sabari? Does anyone know where Sabari is? And they were all astonished that Sabari was hiding and the Lord's inquiring about her. And so finally they told her where she stays. And so he went there, but he couldn't see her because she was hiding. But Lord Ramachandra was so eager to see his dear devotee Sabari. Meanwhile, Sabari, she'd learned that Lord Ram had actually come to her cottage and was waiting for her. So she ran back. She was hiding in the forest. She ran back to her ashram. And then as soon as she saw the Lord from a distance, she started falling down, and crying and offering obeisances, and crying with tears of joy. And the Lord went to Sabari and picked her up. And then tears of ecstasy began to flow from her eyes. So then she gave a nice seat to Lord Ramachandra, and then Sabari, who had a handful of berries that she'd just been eating, she took some of her own remnants and she offered those. As Rupa Goswami speaks in his Pajavali, and his Bilvamangala Thakur mentions, she offered some of those to Lord Ramachandra. And the Lord started tasting, oh, these berries are so very nice. What can I say about these berries? They've been offered with so much love and devotion. All my fatigue and distress have gone away. So the sages were watching all this. They were very, very confused. They couldn't understand. So they came, they were discussing how is it this water has become purified. So maybe to purify it, we have to do a fire sacrifice and pour sacred water from different rivers and do different things. They did all those things, but still it didn't become purified. So finally they went to Lord Ramachandra and they asked him, what can we do to make the river, this water purified of this lake? And Lord Ramachandra told them, he said, this water has become contaminated not because of Sabri, but because of you. Because you took bath here, because you were criticizing my devotee. And already their pride had become smashed because Lord Ramachandra went to see Sabri and not them. And now they hear this thing. And they said, well, what can we do? How can we purify it? Huh? And Lord Ramachandra told them, said, you go and you fall down at her feet and you wash her feet with the water of this lake. And then the water of the lake will become purified. Yes, sir. And so they did that thing. And the result was the lake became purified. And so when they saw the glories of bhakti and the glories of the devotees and how bhakti is not dependent upon birth, how bhakti is not dependent upon someone's gender, the hearts of all those sages, they melted with love and devotion. So Srila Prabhupada is making this point in this verse and purport, a very, very important point, that bhakti is open for everyone. And a person can achieve perfection in bhakti. It doesn't depend upon anything, any material consideration, their birth, their caste, their gender, their nationality, whatever it may be. And if we think those things are important, like those brahmachari disciples of Ramachandra, of the Ramanujacharya, excuse me, were trying to judge Dhanardas and his wife, who were actually much, much greater devotees than them. Although they were born in Brahmin families and had followed Brahminical principles their whole life. And they're thinking this guy is just a lusty dog who's following around this woman and fanning her and holding an umbrella over her head. But actually they were much greater devotees. Or like these rishis in the forest who were disrespecting Sabari. The only thing that's required is bhakti. So I'd like to speak more about this tomorrow, the position of women in bhakti. It's a very big subject, and it's something which is not always understood. Actually, it's such a vast topic, we could speak upon it for many weeks, seriously. But just to do a little more justice to us, I'd like to continue with this tomorrow. And we're really late. I'm very sorry. I'd like to... Hare Krishna. Madhupati Prabhu. I'd like to see if the devotees have any comments. Nice to see Brajabani to here again. Madhupati Prabhu. I'm sorry, Madhupati. We started late yesterday. I think you weren't able to join us. Jayad Waitamaraji, he says, wrote about Vibhu Chaitanya Prabhu in an obituary. He says he joined in his 50s and did pujari service and was loudly chanting all those 12 hours and more of service. He was doing a lot of service single-handedly and had no time to chant his rounds and beads. The devotees told Srila Prabhupada about it, but he said he did not have to. He was chanting all the time anyway. When Vibhu Chaitanya Prabhu became old and had to give up his service, 5 people had to take over for him. And of course, at that time, then he began chanting on his japa beats. Yes, just see. So although we would judge, we might make a huge mistake, like the brahmachari disciples of Ramanuja, or those rishi followers of Ramachandra, and criticize Dhanardas or Sabari. Someone may criticize Vibhu Chaitanya. He's not chanting his japa, but he's fully absorbed in doing service. He's such a very, very advanced devotee. And the whole time he's chanting. Thank you so much, Madhupati Prabhu. That's a really beautiful comment, beautiful example. Mitravinda Prabhu has written, Hare Krishna, tell the truth, Prabhu. Everyone can attain Krishna and connect with God. If we can't, then I'm finished with this movement. It has no meaning. And Mitravinda says she was raised Baptist too. Well, we come from a similar background in Hare Krishna. And Lynn has written, simple but deeply sincere. I would love to become such. That's our goal. Our goal is not just to become big scholars or big religionists or big persons who are knowing how to do rituals and things like that. That's not advancement. Advancement means being like Jayananda Prabhu, who was working so hard, or like Vibhu Chaitanya Prabhu, or like Sabari or Dhanardas. And Linda's written, what a beautiful and extremely compassionate teaching. Thank you so much. And Natalia's there too. Hare Krishna, Natalia. Okay, so I'd like to, unless there's any more comments, I'm going to turn to the devotees here in the room with us and see if Anupayani Radha, or we call her Banana Payani, if she has any comments. Do you have any comments, Banana Payani?
A question. Thank you so much for the stories about Dhanurdas, how his qualities appeared in this situation by the mercy of his Guru Maharaj. I was really amazed how his Guru Maharaj wanted to show his glories, their glories, his and his wife. It's really amazing. And also story of the Shabari, it's also amazing example. And for me, the question arises about simplicity, Charlotte, because we can say that externally they were simple because for Shabari she was just a externally low-class woman and things, and she didn't have education, we can say, or things like that, where she was simple from this perspective. But Charlotte means something different, simplicity, which really pleases the Lord, which pleases the Vaishnavas. And so what does it mean, simplicity from the spiritual perspective, and how does it come?
Very nice question, Anupayani. Thank you. Krishna. Simplicity doesn't just mean that we're stupid. Simplicity doesn't just mean that I'm uneducated. Simplicity doesn't just mean that I'm a tribal person living in a cave in the jungle. But simplicity means that we simply desire Krishna. Simplicity means our sincerity. And someone who's very sincere, just like there's a nice verse by Madhavendra Puri, I don't remember the Sanskrit, but he says that I offer obeisances to my morning bath. And he said, please forgive me my Sandhya Vandana and my chanting of Gayatri, but now I'm not taking shelter of you anymore. I'm just taking shelter of the holy name. That's simplicity. We can't imitate that. If we give up taking our morning bath, oh, Guru Maharaj, I'm very simple, therefore I'm not taking my morning bath. Madhavananda said, don't do that. I'll get in trouble. But simplicity means that I just don't have faith in anything else. So many people are writing me every day about this virus thing, and they're telling me it's a conspiracy, it's a this and it's a that. And I don't know. And I'm not really convinced that these devotees know either, or the people that they're listening to. Maybe, maybe not. All that I know is that I'm not supposed to go outside, and this is a very good time for me to read Srimad Bhagavatam. It's a very good time to chant and go deeper internally. And what the cause is, maybe that'll be shown later on. I'm not saying that it's not a conspiracy, it's not this or that, but I just don't consider it to be so significant. What the cause is doesn't matter. But what's important is the result. And so we should be simple like that and just want bhakti and not try to become so complicated. I remember when I joined, I was a very complicated person. And like many people, I wanted to get some social respect in this society. I'm such a shameless person. This is my confession. And so to get some respect, I started learning verses. And then I saw, the pujaris get a lot of respect. And especially if they know how to twist their fingers into different mudras and things, then people say, oh my God, he's really advanced. He knows so many things that other common devotees don't know. And so then I spent time and learned how to do fire yagyas and how to twist my fingers and things. But I found after some time I was also disappointed because those things didn't solve my problems. They didn't help me to get more bhakti. Rather, it was just a show that was being put on. And so I lost faith in those things. And although I did those things for my Guru Maharaj, that was the first service he gave me. After he gave me initiation, he gave me first and second, he told me, you come to Bhubaneswar and install the deities of Radha Gopinath. And he had me install a number of deities on his behalf. And I did all these ceremonies for him. But after he left this world, I stopped doing those things. It's one thing to do it for him. Sometimes we did one sannyas ceremony for one of our god brothers on the request of Radha Govinda Maharaj and my godbrother. But in general, I avoided those things because I don't have so much faith in that. But what I have more faith in is bhakti. So, not that I'm a simple person, but we should cultivate simplicity, and simplicity means Shraddha Sabdi Visvaskai Sudhid in his choy, Krishna Bhakti Koila Sarva Karma Krita Hoy. To have firm faith that all that I have to do is bhakti. I may not become perfect in Vanashram. I may not become a perfectly chaste wife and be able to render perfect service to my husband. I may not be able to be a perfect person in terms of Vanashram Dharma. I may not even learn a lot of verses. I may not learn how to do puja properly. And Sabari certainly wasn't a perfect pujari. But all those things don't matter. Let me take shelter of bhakti. Is that okay, Anapine? Okay. Anything else? Alex has written something. Devotees are going to the places where there is no Ganga to purify these places by Krishna Katha. Although it is even said it will take much longer time to be purified by Ganga than by pure dear devotees. Yes. Gangara Parasa Hoite. It said that you may have darshan of the Ganga, but just having darshan once, you have to take bath many times in the Ganga. But just by seeing a devotee even one time, we become purified. What's interesting to me about this verse from Chaitanya Bhagavat is Vrindavan Das Thakur is saying that the Lord was having his great devotees take birth in places far distant from the Ganga, far distant from places where the chanting of the holy name was going on. And Srila Prabhupada, he said that some of his disciples were sent by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. He said that about Jayapataka Maharaj. He said that he was an associate of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Ashwin writes, my understanding is that Srila Prabhupada wanted a devotee society arranged according to Varnashram. We see senior devotees are generally Brahmins. Can there be advanced devotees in today's age who are in other Varnas like Vaishya or Sudra? Yes, yes, yes. They may be a simple housewife. They may be a little girl. But if they have bhakti, we should give them more respect. We give respect for 8 different reasons, according to Bhaktivinoda Thakur. If you're interested in this, I've given a seminar called Culture of Respect, and it's available on ISKCON Desire Tree. You can listen to it. Bhaktivinoda describes 8 different levels of respect, beginning with Nara Matra Maryada, or we should respect anyone who's a human being, but more than that, Sabhyatara Maryada, we give respect to someone who's civilized, but more than that, we give respect to someone who's a king, who has some position, but more than that, we give respect to Vidya Maryada, someone who has knowledge, but more respect than that. And he goes all the way up to the Varnas and Ashrams, and we give the most respect to the Brahmins, but we give even more respect to the sannyasis. But the most respect, the 8th and final level of respect, is for devotees, for someone who has bhakti. So we practice Varnashram, and we respect anyone who's following Varnashram. We respect anyone who takes care of their children. We respect any mother who's working hard to take care of her babies and change their diapers and breastfeed them. We respect the husbands who provide for their family. We give respect to the Brahmins who are worshiping the Lord. We give respect to all these things. We give respect to someone who's just older than us, to someone who has more money than us. We give respect for those things, but we give the most respect to someone who has bhakti, and that's so very, very important. Alex has written, he's quoting a verse from the 30th chapter of the 4th canto, text 37. Dear Lord, your personal associates, devotees, wander all over the world to purify even the holy places of pilgrimage. Is not such activity pleasing to those who are actually afraid of material existence? Excellent, thank you. And Madhupati Prabhu was also, he's replied to Ashwin saying, an example is Gopal Bhatta Prabhu, how the devotees wander all over to purify the holy places of pilgrims. Gopal Bhatta Prabhu did like that. So we're going to stop here, unless there's something else really quickly from somebody here. But again, my computer is getting low, so you better be quick. It's okay, really, I'm just being honest. It'll die pretty soon.
It's just a quick comment that I really, the point I really appreciated this point about simplicity. I kind of, when will that day be mine? But I also think that it's extremely important, this cultural box that you mentioned. and how it's actually really off-putting for people when we are bringing a certain cultural box, and it's limiting. When Bhakti is so
We put more stress on the box. Yes.
yeah, and I just appreciate this point from the purport really, that Bhakti is for everyone, and if we stress this more, we would probably have more devotees, more people coming and becoming devotees.
Nice. We'll continue. Oh, Krishna, go now. We'll continue with this tomorrow. He says, Alex has written also, it's an amazing story from Krishna Tamrita about Bhakti Sudadoya, about Markandeya Muni, how he's offering his respect to Parashara Muni. You called his city. Thank you. That's an excellent example. I was thinking about that. I decided not to cite that because we do it so often. I have to stop here because my computer is going to die any moment. Hare Krishna. So we'll be here again tomorrow, and we'll continue the same topic tomorrow about how Bhakti is for everyone, even for women. Hare Krishna. Vancha kalpa darubhischa kripa